I'm your host today. So my name's Paul Higgins. My focus is very much around growth and innovation for training providers as a business development manager. And Jan, at that point, could I perhaps introduce yourself to this round and your responsibilities today?
Thank you very much. You were talking about responsibilities, and I certainly didn't know how to answer that. My responsibility today is to give you a short overview of what that name, Emissio, actually means. And I'm going to visualize that a little bit. So uh, this is not, hopefully, death by PowerPoint, but I will certainly share my screen for a sec if I can figure out the technology here. Um, Always an exciting moment. I should be able to share a few slides just to give an overview of what we're doing. Emissio means blended or mixed, and what Emissio does is we work with training providers to help you with blended learning, basically making more training impact, and that's not always blended learning. And I also said that Emissio means mixed. It means that we are a very mixed team, and we're very proud of that. Um, Training Journal is our media partner in the webinar series, but also in the conference that we're doing. And we'll talk about that in a moment. So what does impact mean, by the way? There's two elements in this. One is quality. So we help training providers with the design, the creation, the delivery, and the measurement, actually proving that their training impact is really there, and really making sure that the quality of that training can be the best it can be. Quantity element is really also about the business, scaling the business. We talk about business modeling, pricing strategy quite often with training providers as well, just to make sure that the business in itself operates well, on a very optimal base. And how do we do that? Well, we're very much a platform-based business. So we're an edtech company. We work as a strategic partner with a company called A New Spring, which is a blended learning platform specifically for training providers. We also have Emissio SIP, which is proving your training impact as a tool. We work in content, sometimes that bespoke content. We also have libraries that people can use or training companies can use to augment their learning journeys. And we have a number of services around this. So that's really what we do. On the left-hand side of this slide, you see research, because we like an evidence-based approach. We quite often work with universities. We've worked with several universities, for example, with Oxford, to over a number of years to produce a number of reports on the state of training providers and how they adopt blended learning. We then like to share that research and also case studies that we do with customers. We like to share that, and this is the perfect example of how we do that. We do these webinars as a series every month. We also have a newsletter where we share those things, and we also have a conference that we organize. The conference is in October, and you can learn more about that later on. We ourselves also make an impact, and that impact is very much measured here. So we can work at scale. We've been enabling more than 1.5 million learners to date. That's measured from 2018 when we started. We've been adding quite a lot of revenue to our customers and businesses, and a number of our customers are award-winning. So some good examples here. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Emissio SIP is proving your impact, but we can talk about that another time. Bye for now.
Jan, thank you very much. And you can see that Jan's just recently been on a time management course because he's improving that element to it. And thank you very much for that insight to Emissio and obviously your position supporting training provider community. Jan, thank you so much for that. So I
Thank you, Paul.
suppose at that point, it'd be great to introduce our guests today, multiple guests. So what we wanted to do is bring the amazing team from Accessplanit over today, really to talk about their experiences, but really for you to share your experiences as well. So hopefully by the end of this session, we're able to perhaps give you something that you didn't know before you've joined us today that you can perhaps take away tomorrow and hopefully influence into your business or even if just make a positive change. That's really what it's all about today. So at that point, Jana, perhaps I would just like to introduce the team. Is it possible perhaps if I just hand over to Rebecca and the team just to give a little bit of an insight to the team who's here today? Guys, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, yeah, of course. So I'm Rebecca. I'm marketing manager at Access Planet. So we help training providers to plan, manage, and sell their courses and resources with our software. And I'm joined by Lewis. If you want to introduce yourself, if we go around.
Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, so I'm Lewis, head of new business. So, suppose yeah, just in a very short nutshell, helping training providers do exactly what Rebecca said, introducing them to a training management software. I don't know if, I suppose, quick show of hands or whatever, if you can, who's heard of a training management software before? Everyone knows CRM, everybody knows LMS. TMS is, we're it's an emerging field. We've been around since 2001.
Hmm.
See, primarily we specialize in instructor led, so either in-person or webinar training, obviously with a combination of some e-learning in there as well. And managing those training operations, making it more efficient, helping automate as much as possible. But as we were talking before, I don't know if a few of you were in when we were still talking. It's about not losing that identity of you as a business and as people, but with the economy of scale and getting those process efficiencies through. So that's me.
Thank you, guys.
Helen?
Thank you. I'm Helen. I'm a customer success manager, one of the three, and I deal with the commercial side. So it's our role really to take care of the customers. So Lewis brings them in, and then we are the team that makes sure they are meeting the success and seeing the value in and making the improvements in their training management. Jack, over to you.
Thanks. So, like I am a customer success manager, but focus more on the optimized side. So, we'd work to make sure that you're getting the most out of the platform, it's really working for you, and also adopting new features. We regularly release new features, and we want to make sure people use them and get the effect and value from them. So, it's just making sure you're getting the most out of the platform that you've bought and invested in, and your business really benefits from having a platform like ours. Frank?
Thanks, Jack. Yes, I'm a customer success manager. My job is just to help people get the most out of the platform. I've only been with Access Planet in the industry for 9 months, so I'm sure I'll be getting a lot out of today as well.
Brilliant stuff. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. But as I said at the beginning of this, it's about everyone that's on this call has an equal responsibility today. And what I mean by that is that we really want to don't take the assumption that everyone is happy, that they have a system that works. And I know personally as well that business is, we will talk about technology, don't we? But ultimately, we have to start somewhere. And I know that, we may have a spreadsheet and it does the job that we roughly think it does, but sometimes it doesn't know about the risk that we're managing from that point of view. Or, we have a spreadsheet to manage the CRM system. We have a spreadsheet to do this, that, and the other. But I think what is really good today is perhaps to understand where everybody starts from, but where people want to finish will be a totally different position, hopefully, by this session today. So to get the story going in some respects, where do we start with this? I think is probably where I'm starting from. And what it'd be good, obviously, is to talk about real life stories. Those are the ones that are more relevant. And, and the fact is, we don't always get things right. And it's those learnings I hopefully we can take from today. So, and I think from my perspective as well, it is even, looking at growth and innovation is about operational risk and how we actually manage risk. So if I could perhaps pass it back to you guys as the sort of leading this, just with your expertise. Perhaps if you've got a real life story where perhaps someone was a training provider that was in, should we say, in growth mode. The fact is that they were operating in one area, and you could you were speaking to them and building that out to explore actually other options that they could consider, because it's about exposing those opportunities, where they can actually grow, they could innovate, but not at the expense of the customer experience. For me personally, it's about that customer experience. How can I embellish that? How can I improve that? And not with I used to get the feedback, oh, well, I know it's automation and you've lost the personalization. We were having a conversation just before this. Paul, I know it's automation, but because I know the style you talk about. So I'll tell you what, I'll put spelling mistakes into my email so it's the person behind it. So I think it's really important, although we go to improve efficiencies and effectiveness, but don't lose the sight about the human part of this. And we know obviously the influences with AI coming into that. So really, just if I open it up, really, of where do you start? You guys, talking to a training provider that perhaps doesn't know you, but how do you explore the opportunity for change? Could perhaps I pass that over to one of the team to perhaps pick up that mantle?
Yeah, I'll take it, I guess, given I tend to speak mainly to non-customers.
Yeah, yeah.
So tr trying to kind of introduce the concept of Accessplanit and kind of what a tier, for me, I think living the industry and breathing it for as long as we have, it's as much about the journey that can we help as to trying to put a square peg in a round hole. I've sent more people in different directions probably than I've brought on board with Accessplanit, because there is a huge range of tools out there. I think that the impacts that we bring, if I can pick on one in particular that's quite recent, they were training, so it's a fairly small team, 5, 6 training admins doing around about 12,000 learners a year, predominantly all on webinar. So huge registration volumes and just trying to keep up with things like joining instructions and certificates and doing those tasks manually. With Accessplanit, obviously, the joys is that it's all automated. So the workflow engine says, new delegate booked, send the JIs. Great. The customization for them as an organization, it was a public sector body. So they had a huge amount of rigidity that needed to be sent. And so having templates is a gold mine for those. Not only for the completely automated stuff, but also for your ad hoc emails. Not just talking cancellations or transfers of courses and things like this. Ad hoc, one-time emails that you need to send out, having it as a template, quotes, things like anything that you get as an inquiry in, having all of those defined as templates creates uniformity. And then whether I'm sending it, whether Frank's sending it, or whether we want it to come from training at accessplanit.com, allowing that option so it still delivers from a personal touch, it puts just that extra level of polish on a customer journey. Obviously, having all of it automated, you touched on it before, Paul. AI is kicking through. We've got so much automation now in the world anyway. Learners want immediate. They want everything to be available right here, right now. They don't want to wait an hour, 2 hours for their joining instructions, or worse still, a day till they can log into the LMS, because the two things don't talk to each other. They've bought a thing on Eventbrite, and then somebody's got to take that booking, go and paste it into the LMS, create them as a user, enroll them in. Learners just can't deal with that anymore. It's just, it worked 15 years ago. It doesn't work anymore, is the brutal truth. And that's where having that singular platform, that one stop, that everything is connected, really sort of shines through. So I don't know if anybody else has any anecdotes. Obviously, I'm picking on that one because it was a very recent one that just gone through onboarding, and they're flourishing on the other end. So I'm sure probably Jack, Frank, and Helen will be knowing who that is. I think we're under an NDA, so I can't say their name, but yeah,
yeah, from like an existing customer's perspective too, is that the automation is so important for so many customers to be able to scale. We've seen customers grow tens of thousands every year of the delegates and courses they can offer purely from the automation. Without the automation element of a platform like TMS, you can't scale at the levels that you can do with a spreadsheet. You can't manually send all your JIs out. You can't send all your certificates out manually. It's without employing more people, which obviously then has other implications such as costs. There's other stories with that. It's difficult to scale, and you can still have the personalization with the emails, but the automation even is really just a big seller for people. It's a big reason people take our platform on to make their lives easier and take away those manual steps. That's what a lot of it's about.
Yeah, and Jack, just listening to you as well, just thinking back previously as well, does it also protect a business? Because what I've also experienced, a lot of training providers will be, as an approved training provider, say
Yep,
to, they call it CITB or
exactly.
Highfield, wherever it needs
Mhm.
to be. So,
Yeah, yeah,
so what a lot of these organisations now have done, obviously, that the certificates
yep,
aren't paper-based anymore, but they're
nope,
electronic.
yep,
And the old cliche is, I still haven't received
yep.
my certificate or something like that. And you know that it's like, okay, but at least now you can go back into, oh, actually, no, it was released to this person on this email address.
Exactly.
I imagine that has probably helped, perhaps even from a compliance perspective now. Would that be the case?
Absolutely. Platforms like a TMS log, literally everything. Everything's audited as most platforms are now. So you can see all the emails that have been sent out. So you can see that whole journey for your delegate, for your booker, from that first booking confirmation they've had, all the way through to the JIs, the certificates, any follow-up emails. It's all logged, and it's just easy to be able to see. And someone's on the phone saying, "I need this email. I haven't done my JIs. I've deleted it, whatever it may be." It's
Hmm.
easy to resend it without having to, redo it all manually, try and find it. It's all there against that user account. So yeah. And from a compliance point of view, like you say, with organizations like CITV that have strict regulations, you've got to have certain things filled in. A tutor has to fill in a certain form, a certain way. It makes sending those out to your trainers easier as well, being able to submit them. So there's so many benefits as well, and reduce that human error. We're all human. We all make mistakes. Having a platform like this just reduces those. It's never going to eradicate it because, we're all human, as I say, and things happen, but it reduces it and reduces the risk, I guess, to, the awarding bodies and the customers that you work with too.
Hmm. Good.
I think if I can just jump in,
Yeah,
sorry,
yes.
about the personalization as well. I think we're very much about that. We don't want to lose the personalized side of things. And your automated communications can be personalized and they can still be in your voice. And I think that's quite an important, they don't need to be that soulless comms that you can get. And I think we've definitely seen that. We also have things like our support team is a person, so you get to ring, you get to speak to us, we meet with our customers often. I think there is still the opportunity for lots of that face-to-face communication that really, really works. But when you want somebody coming into some training, you want them walking in with confidence that they have this course is going to be fantastic. I've seen my joining instructions. I know where my venue is. I know where my link is. They're already walking in with that really high expectation, and that's what we want to be promoting. And automation really, really does support with that, making sure everybody gets what they need when they need it.
Yeah.
Actually, Helen, you've made a really valid point there as well, because what my experience is sometimes is that this could be the first time that they're actually working with you as a training provider, and it's
100%.
anxieties. There's anxieties there, isn't there? And
Yeah.
and and it's the things are only as good as the weakest link in some respects. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that point that you talk about with the JIs, the joining instructions, or the fact is. I mean, I've had experiences, that we send out the joining instructions 48 hours before, say, like if it was should we say, like a remote facilitated element to it type of thing. So they're not rocking up to a venue, and then but that's 48 hours. So if that starts on Monday at 8:30, they've lost contact, haven't they? So sometimes it's even, oh yeah, we send them out 48 hours before, but yeah, but if it goes out at 8:30 on Saturday, it doesn't help anybody if they haven't got their
Mm-hmm.
joining instructions. And sometimes it's just that bit of trying to help people, that it's a great system, but it's how do you optimize it for your business?
Oh, for
Um,
sure. We've also had examples of that. So we've had a customer not so long ago that actually came on board because they'd had an instance where two trainers had turned up for the same course.
mhm,
And as Jack says, human error, it happens, it absolutely does. But the scheduling side of a platform that you're going to use can really help those kind of errors. So although it's giving, the best foot forward for the delegate that's coming in, learning with that excited, open mind, it's also making sure that your internal resources are managed well and efficiently in the best way that you can.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting point. And what I also appreciate we're talking, but I really want to encourage people today, if they've got any questions, please use the chat facility. And then what I'll try to do is bring your question to life for you and ask the experts in the room today. So please don't lose sight of that. This is your session today, as much as us, that we have this great opportunity to talk to the team again, because I get so much from these conversations, but I really want you to actually come to the fore as well. So that's brilliant. And from your discussion, what other things that you feel that have been actually sort of, should we say, sort of changed the way that a training provider operates, just by looking at a way of their practices and how they manage themselves differently with this type of technology? If you've got any sort of snippets that you're allowed to share with us.
It's
Oh,
sorry, go on. No, you go ahead, Rebecca. Go on, sorry.
Okay. I was just about to say, I was speaking to one of our customers a couple of weeks ago. We were doing a case study, and they've been with us for nearly 10 years, I think. So they were casting their mind back, obviously, in a case study to before Accessplanit, and all sorts came out of things that they don't even think about doing anymore. For example, they run a lot of courses that are very, compliance based. They've got expiry dates on the certificates. They need people to renew the certificates if they've done the course previously, and it's expired. And I said, well, how did you manage that before? And they said, we didn't. They did the course and they left, and we just physically didn't have the capacity to follow up on those expiries and the renewal reminders. We just couldn't do it. And then now it's kind of like it's gone full circle, because again, they don't think about it anymore because Accessplanit does it all for them. So as soon as that certificate is about to expire, they'll get a little reminder and they'll rebook that training. And then again, completely change the way that they work, because they get all those bookings in that they wouldn't have had previously, because they wouldn't have been able to follow up on those bookings. So that was a really interesting
yeah.
Renewals, I guess.
Renewals are like a whole income stream in themselves, and if you can't track them, then it's in effect you're just losing people. If they know their certificate's due to expire, there's choice out there. You want to be the people that they choose. You want to get that repeat business. If you're not letting people know your certificate's expired, look, we've got this course available for you, they're going to go and find it elsewhere. They're going to go and look elsewhere for it. Who someone else is going to provide it. You want to remind them, come back to us. We'll give you a discount code, whatever it may be, to entice them back. It's like you don't have to get that new business again. You've already won it once. You just need to remind them it's there. Come back to us, renew your certificate. If you don't have that element of being able to track that, you lose it. You don't have it. So yeah.
Thanks, Jack. And one point I'm just thinking about here, we just talked about data and impact. Jan, I just want to link to yourself in some respects. You wanted to bring some up, I think, about the report.
One of the things I always love from Accessplanit is their annual report that they do for training providers, the state of the nation for training providers. It's always a great read. I recommend it to anybody. With regards to this year's report, I noticed that, of course, there is the topic of AI in there, but it's really interesting to see why training providers, where they're struggling, where their opportunities lie. And one of the things of talking about opportunities, and I think I've seen this for a couple of years now in your report coming back, is about the short courses, that's more and more coming to the front. And short courses, does that mean that your operational management of that changes the game, or does that really stay the same with regards from operational management? I know it's a wild question, but that element, does that make a difference or not?
Tends to be more of those short courses, I think. So it's the volume that you do. If people are doing a 5-day course and they're only running a few of those each week, it's obviously less numbers. Whereas delegate numbers tend to be higher where you have those short courses, because they're running the same course 2-3 times a week, for example, because it's just like a 1-day or half-a-day course. I think that's what I'd notice.
Does that mean that short courses also get more digital, or is it still instructor-led?
I find the customers I work with is a bit of both. They tend to offer the same course in both formats to appeal to different learner types. Everyone learns differently. I prefer an in-person course. I struggle to sit and have concept. If I had a 3-day course, I'd struggle to sit in front of a laptop for 3 days doing a course. I much prefer some in person that's a bit more interactive like that. So they offer it generally in both formats to be able to accommodate everyone. So it's again that wide appeal. If they want it in person, if you don't do it, are they going to go somewhere else? So people tend to offer both, I find.
Okay.
I think what we find as well is can come in for one particular purpose. So they have one particular course that they want to manage within a platform, and then they see the possibility. So then they see the labour it takes away, or the fact that they can trust the communication so much, and then it starts to go into the different areas. So we see the short courses coming through as well, and for us, that's how we see the usage growth. To go back to one of your original points, Paul, it's that thing about people coming in with that user need to start with, and we find sometimes it can start quite isolated. They want it for a particular reason, and then as soon as they realize the benefits, that's when it starts to grow out throughout the organization and throughout the different styles of courses that they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And different buyers as well.
Mm.
Sorry, just to add to that, you asked before, Paul, about impact and
Yeah.
kind of how it can really change a business. A lot of our providers, they'll sell B2C, but they'll also sell B2B. They'll sell open courses, they'll sell in-house exclusive deliveries. Managing all of that in spreadsheets or even in a CRM is, I mean, having tried it, it's hell on earth.
Yes.
So having it in one place where you can capture a B2B exclusive inquiry and it's all seamlessly linked in, all your trainers, who's qualified to deliver it, alongside your open enrollments, and then offering we call it manager access. I think we're the only TMS that has it, touch wood. It's a USP for Accessplanit, but it allows your bookers, if you will, a portal that they can log in and they can see their own count within your training provider. So as, let's say, Tesco, I can log in and I can see all of my Tesco employees that I'm responsible for, my own custom dashboards. We were talking on renewals before. Bringing all of that to the customer 24/7 self-serve is a game changer for so many of because it just, all that admin is now gone. You can put it on and the customer will happily self-do it because it's so easy.
Mm-hmm.
So managing a business can be very different very quickly.
Yeah, and I think all those modalities that you talked about for a training provider, that they're the norm now. And I think Jan made reference obviously to the benchmark reports, and I think in some respects it's great to see that, should we say the emergence, should we say, back of the classroom based training. I think was it 41% growth or yeah, it's coming back. But I think what it means, I don't think it's anything other than actually now that people start to see the value more in it. So when we talk about more of a blended approach about all the different modalities, online, virtual led, blended experiences, I think that the point of contact of the human interaction is more valued now, is what I'm starting to see. We go through waves and troughs, don't we, with different technologies, but I think now that's really come to the fore. Sylvie, you asked a question in the chat there. Would you like just to bring that question to life a little bit more for us?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
We can indeed. I love the backdrop actually.
It looks a bit like I'm in the shed, but I'm actually in the office. Yeah, so we are after a CRM with some LMS functionality, we think, because we are at the point where we would like to set up a system. We had a system, it wasn't really working for us, but now I'm your perfect target right now because I'm looking for a system who's going to do that. And I'm trying to figure out what functionality do we actually need within the business for all functions, including sales, marketing, business development, learners management of the journey, but also running the courses. So currently we have to use different platforms, whether it's Google Meet or Zoom, depending how many people we've got on it, planning it, having the links, setting up the links where they should be, and communicating those links. It's really cumbersome. So that's what I'm trying to understand from your platform. Is it a platform that can be used to run training courses with breakout rooms, with everything that needs to be there for the participants to access not only the courses but their training material as well?
Thank you so much for that question. To the experts, don't all
I'll
hide.
field it.
Well,
I'll
that's
field
a
it if
good
you want.
question. That's a Lewis question.
I'll field it, no problem. So in terms, yes, there'll be absolutely no problem. I've already seen the email come through, so I'll reply back to that one properly in a minute. But in terms of the running of a webinar course from the platform, absolutely. We have four main types. So you've got your knowledge document courses. Classic example would be read the material, watch the video before you come along to an event. E-learning, standalone style, answer the quiz, SCORM courses, for want of a better way of describing them. Classroom led, and then absolutely webinar. And obviously, all four of those are very different in structure. Your webinar courses will need trainer links, delegate links. It's expected very early Q3, so in the next sort of 3 or 4 weeks, that we'll have a native connector for Zoom for Teams. So that will then go to your own Zoom instance, create the course and bring it back so that all of those links are pre-populated against that right course date. And then the system will send them on to the learners and to the trainers. So that's all being built literally as we speak now, as a native connector. At the moment, you can happily grab your Teams link, Zoom link, Google Meets, WebEx, whatever you want to use as your webinar platform, pop them into the right boxes, and the system will take care of sending it. Paul, you were touching on it before, where you said, you used to send them 48 hours before. Everybody has different rules. Sometimes you might want to send them 48 hours before and then again 2 hours before. No problem. It's all just taken care of, and it will send the right link, right time, right people. So you don't ever need to think about it. For the breakout piece, that would be dependent on the Zoom licenses that you're using and the scheduling of the webinar. That wouldn't be a Accessplanit thing. That would be in the webinar tech that.
Okay, I get that. Yeah. Rakesh, I just saw you've put a sort of conversely sort of a question to that. Could you bring your question to life as well for everybody, please?
Yeah, me.
Hello there. Yes.
Brilliant. I think the question is pretty self-explanatory. Converse to Sylvia's, if a training provider already operates an LMS and a third-party LMS, the LMS plays quite a crucial role in ensuring data flow from pre-delivery to post-delivery. And my question is, what degree of cooperation do you tend to enjoy from LMS providers when attempting to connect workflows on the back end and front end of the actual core delivery? And how seamless do you tend to find this, or is it LMS provider specific?
I'll touch it from our side if you want, and then Jack, you go. I think the CSM's best place. API wise for us, Rakesh, we have the complete system, so you can pass any data in and out freely. We have a full API with webhooks. The challenge, you're quite right, does come from the other end if the LMS doesn't have a complete API. So that is where it does become LMS specific. I'll hand over to Jack for some examples of where people have done it.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. So we natively integrate some of our courses with Moodle. So that one's quite that's quite a nice seamless one. It's relatively easy to set up. And then we've had people use other providers, big names like Docebo, have been relatively easy. I don't know if I could say specific names, but there we go anyway. Docebo people have used and has been quite good. I think it depends very much on how open their API is. We have had people look at using middleware before to put things from Accessplanit into a piece of middleware that then does like the converting in the middle to then put it into a platform that they maybe integrate with. So things like Zapier, I know, are quite popular as a way to have like a middleware piece, but obviously there's costs associated with that, so it's more difficult. But the bigger ones tend to be okay. It's the more niche ones, I guess, where if it's for certain industry, tends to be a bit more difficult because they don't always have the same open API as we do, or it's a bit more limited down, or the questioning why you want to do it. So very much LMS provider specific, I would say.
If if I could come back on the back of that then. So what would be the top 3 questions we would be asking of our LMS provider to determine whether it's compatible with Accessplanit?
That's a great question. I think for the one thing is how open is their API. If they limit it down, that can cause you problems straight away. Ours is pretty much every part of our platform is open via API. If your LMS doesn't have that, that can cause you a problem straight away. It's also, I guess, how easy is it to do? Some integrations are a lot easier to do than others. And also, recommend a developer. Does the LMS or do we know of anyone that's done that integration before? Sometimes having someone that has done it before makes a big difference because they know how both platforms work. They don't have to learn how the two can link together, and that sometimes can be the time consuming thing is the developer trying to understand, right, I can get this information from Accessplanit or whatever TMS. Where am I putting that in? Where am I plugging it into? Sorry, Paul, go on.
No. Just please carry on.
Yeah, no, I was just saying it's that plugin thing, and like they have to learn both platforms, and that can take more time, and sometimes can need more cost to you as a provider. So if you know someone that knows both, like we can recommend people that we've worked with that have done different integrations for different pieces of software, and if they know someone, it just really helps. It's quicker for you guys, and also it's usually less likely to have anything going wrong because they know this goes here, and making that join.
The point I was just going to make there, Jack, is that yeah, you read it. Yep, anyone can do this. No, they can't.
Exactly.
From my perspective, set the correct expectation. You need
Yeah.
technical expertise on both sides. That
Yeah.
they talk a different language
They do.
to the man. Yeah, if you're the senior manager in a department, the technical team talk a different language, and get those two teams talking together before you actually make any form of commitment. Can it work? You know, because that, well, you know, it's like people will throw out, do you know what? Yeah, oh yeah, REST APIs or API, and they don't even know what API stands for. Never mind anything like that, because they don't want to show that they don't know something and they see it as a weakness, but actually it's a strength if you say, look,
Yeah.
no, seriously, we need to get some technical expertise
Also,
on this.
there's different developers that I found. Like some people are developers that specify really much in web and design, and that's their skill. You know, they can design a beautiful looking website. Ask them to create an integration between two platforms, they don't know where to start. But then you've got the other side where you've got people that can integrate two platforms, but actually you look like a child's designed your website because that's just not their skill. It's finding the right developer too that has the right skill set. Developers aren't all the same. It's a really broad term, but they do have niche skills and are more trained in one area than another, and also prefer it too. So they're going to do you a better job.
Absolutely. You know what it's like in the training game. Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
graphical designer, a web designer type
Yeah.
of thing. But there was just another question that was just posed actually, just around. Obviously, we're just talking about technical expertise, but also timeframes.
Mhm.
You know, and I know that's as long as a piece of string, because depending on the complexities, everything like that. So that's one point. I'm just conscious of time, but Tina, as well. Tina, you have a question. Please bring it to life for us, please.
Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, I can't hear you. You're on mute still.
Yep.
It's all right. We still do it 5 years down the line, don't we? There we go.
It
There you go, Tina.
just demonstrates the whole thing. I'm a real newbie at all of this, so I have lots of information and IP that I want to turn into courses, and I've been speaking to Jan about it. And I actually had trouble getting into this webinar, so I missed all the beginning of who you even are. So I'm just trying to work out, Jan, with what we've been talking about and what Accessplanit is. I am totally confused now. So I just wonder if you can join the dots for me, Jan, here a minute.
Certainly do that. With the different terminology of the different platforms, where, for example, we talked about LMSs, learning management systems. We talked about training management system, TMS. And quite often how the systems work together is that a learning management system is administering the quite often online, but also other parts of training within an organization. And we've been talking about a platform like a New Spring, which is a blended learning platform specifically for training providers. So in that system, you design, create, and deliver the training that you do. So that's what we've been talking about. A training management system, and I'm going to give this to Louis after this as well, is more focused on when you have a number of instructors within the training delivery. And Louis, what would focus a training management system on?
Yeah, so TMS really, there's only probably half a dozen of us in the market, which is it's quite nice from where we sit because everybody's built their platforms for different people. Way back through the 80s and 90s, we were a commercial training provider. We were in the senior care space, but the platform was built for us as a business back then, and obviously then since it's been developed and continually grown for commercial training. There are others that specialize in internal L&D, so your HR bolt-on type stuff. But with us, it's very much instructor-led, whether it's online or in person, and managing all of the back office operations. So as much as we have the learner interface and you have the portal where they can come to get their certificates if you want it, the predominant, I suppose, ROI, the value that a TMS brings, Tina, is in efficiencies in the back office, helping you find the right trainers, the right venues, the right equipment for the right courses on the right days, fast. And then getting all of that communication out to the right people immediately. There's no manual intervention. Once you've scheduled an open course, public open, sell it on the website style course, you could, in theory, not touch it again, all the way through to certificates being delivered and renewals being chased. That's the level you can push to the automation. Obviously, there will be people that ring you and I need to transfer dates and that kind of thing. But in theory, I could buy that course, get my joining instructions, get the directions to the venue, whatever I need, turn up. The trainer's got all of the information they need, the files to teach the course, all the equipment is already there, the jobs for the whoever to do, and then the course can be delivered. Completely done. Just all you needed to do was create that course date, and the system will help take care of the rest. So does that help bring it into a little bit of context?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sylvie, just to touch on yours, I was typing a reply, but just to give you a quick, very technical expertise, you don't really need a great deal. You'd need somebody who can set up your email connections and your web integration. Depending on how far you want to push it, obviously you'll need developers like we were talking about before. If you want to connect in LMSs and finance tools and HR platforms and whatever else you want to connect, if you want to connect the tech stack, you can do. That will need a developer. Otherwise, we work with people who are, we have a few customers that are one-man, two-man bands. They're a training, they are a trainer. Ultimately, that's what they've built their career in, and now they own a training business, and they're looking to expand it into a training center. Those kinds of, so you don't really need much technical expertise. The training happens on the onboarding, and timelines to implement can be as short as 60 days from kind of contract sign right the way through to launch. In fact, we have most customers.
And what's your support for onboarding and setting up?
So the onboarding phase is pretty intensive. It's 60 days one-on-one with the implementation manager. So you'll have a dedicated implementation manager who will own that primary kind of onboarding with you, and then they'll hand you over into our customer support and CSM team who are here with us. So you'll have at least two of the three with us, and then you'll have unlimited help desk support. So you pick up the phone, you speak to the team, they're the experts. To use them, like they almost become like an extension of your team. They're like an extra right arm for, oh God, I've forgotten how to do that thing, or oh, this is not quite how I wanted it to look. Can you help me with that, or whatever it might be? Just those fine tuning bits. With us, the optimization phase is continual. It's ongoing. It never ends, and that's all part of the course.
Yeah, Louis, you just made a very good point, and then that's why we have the discussion. It's about making sure you choose the right partners for your business, and every business is different, but do the research and speak to other organizations about their experiences as well. Is really important, and so I think Tina's made some really good points about different systems. What are those systems? Jan, I appreciate also your explanation of that as well, because I think can be quite confusing if it's the first time that you've had discussions around having a TMS as part of that proposition, and all the differences between a learning management system, a learning enhancement solution like a new Spring. There's so much out there, but ultimately, as a community, we can help each other make the right choices and demonstrate impact. And really, that was the whole premise of today. At that point, I normally ask for the guests to perhaps give us one nugget of information or something that they've learned to take so people can take it away with them. Louis, if you've got the mic there in some respects, what piece of advice would you give to a training provider that hasn't actually encroached on the TMS function, but one thing that you would advise them to do before they do that first step?
Yeah, if you're not gonna, it's a TMS is not right for everybody. You might have a tiny piece of the business that's instructor led, and so an LMS, remains being the main thing. Or my advice would be templates. Even if your spreadsheets are enough for right now, you're small and you see growth, you see opportunity, but the cost is prohibitive. Try and get templates in, even if they're just in your Outlook, because they will save you a big old chunk of time. Let's call it that. Even just to have that email body pre-written, it's it's huge. That would
Okay.
be for me templates. If not automation, template.
Perfect stuff. Well, what I'm going to do, I was on the same course as Jan for the time management. I must have left
Yeah.
a little bit earlier and didn't complete the course. So we've run over a little bit today. But from my perspective today, I'd like to thank all our guests today for their contributions. People that are registered that have attended today again, thank you so much for your contributions, because it is about open collaboration. And this is a great place there is no such thing as a silly question type of thing. That's my job. But really, I want to say thank you so much for today's session.